In an ancient world where martial artists ruled, Hyuk Woon Sung watches helplessly as his master is brutally beaten to death, falsely accused of practicing forbidden demonic arts. Despite fighting bravely, Woon Sung cannot defeat those responsible and faces his own end. But fate has other plans. Instead of dying, he wakes up as a child, training to become an elite soldier in the heavenly demon divine cult. Now Woon Sung must master the demonic arts and gain the power he needs for his quest for revenge. In an unknown forest, slashing and clashing sounds fill the air. Multiple trees topple from swift strikes, leaving the ground looking like a lumberjack's worst nightmare. A young man practices his spear skills, sweat glistening on his brow as he faces a mighty tree. With a determined leap, he aims to cut it down with all his might. Unfortunately, as he slashes, blood spills from his own wounds, triggering a painful flashback. Clearly, he missed the memo about not using a tree as a punching bag. His master's voice echoes in his mind, calling him forth. The young man hesitates, then responds. The master asks about the most important quality of a martial artist. The young man fumbles for an answer, finally blurting out that it is about excellence in martial arts skills and the depth of their kai, a classic case of throwing darts in the dark. The master acknowledges that the young man is not wrong, but insists that the most vital quality is harmony. He explains that all martial arts and kai cultivation must be built on harmony with others. Clearly, the master thinks this is a yoga retreat and not a martial arts training session. Back in the present, the young martial artist sits by a tree, battered and bleeding. Anger boils within him as he glares at his master's lifeless body, berating him for preaching harmony while meeting such a fate. He questions the value of harmony now, rage consuming him as he calls out to his fallen master, slain by other martial artists. Talk about a dramatic irony that could fuel a soap opera. As if summoned by his fury, a group of martial artists approaches. First, the three swords of King Chang from the King Chang sect appear. Next comes the Mount Hosage of Bright Rock and the esteemed Exorcist squad from the North River Pen Clan Mountain Clever. Lastly, the Lord of the Martial Alliance, Chua Dole, strides in with a smirk plastered on his face. It's like the universe decided to host a martial arts convention, complete with a villainous guest star. The young man glares at them, struggling to stand tall despite his injuries. He declares that he has a question. One of the martial artists grants him permission to continue. He states that they are not fools, so why did they kill his master? The air thickens with tension as he demands an answer, shouting why repeatedly. He reminds them that his master devoted his life to the martial society. If only he had $1 for every time he asked that question. Dole remains unfazed, though two of his companions visibly flinch at the young man's fury. The boy waits, fists clenched, for a reply. It's like waiting for a bad punchline that never comes. Half a year ago, a strange rumor spread like wildfire. The silent 10 skills of the demon was supposedly in the possession of the Spearmaster and his disciple. Despite their protests of innocence, the world turned a deaf ear. Martial artists came to investigate, and the Spearmaster swore upon the heavens that the book was not there. The Spearmaster sect, known for their dedication to martial arts, insisted they had nothing to do with the vile text. But how did it end up here? It's like being accused of stealing a donut when all you wanted was a salad. In the present, realization dawns on the young man. Someone planted the text to frame the Spearmaster sect. He points his spear at them and demands that they speak. Dole, irritated, barks at his companions to silence the vile kid and strides toward the apprentice, blood dripping from his sword. Clearly, Dole thinks he's auditioning for a horror movie. The Spear sect disciple, fueled by rage, accuses Dole of envy. He claims that his master surpassed Dole in both technique and personality, which Dole could not tolerate. Dole's face twists with anger. He states that the young man's master never taught him about consequences. He declares that he will punish the demonic sect today. Someone's got their villain cape on a little too tight. Unable to tolerate Dole's taunts, the young man lunges forward. Dole barely manages to block the attack, surprised by the boy's strength. But in the chaos, Dole inflicts a deep cut on the apprentice's shoulder, losing 2 fingers in the process. Pain only fuels Dole's rage, but the young man is relentless, aiming to sever Dole's neck. It's a classic case of "you cut my fingers, I'll cut your head." In a close call, the apprentice's spear nearly grazes Dole's face, but is blocked by another sword. To his astonishment, 2 men stand before Dole. One calls him Lord and offers to handle the apprentice. Dole warns them to be cautious, but the first apprentice is confident. Confidence is great, but it doesn't come with a warranty. The first apprentice charges, but the Spear sect disciple deflects each strike with impressive skill. As the fight escalates, both the first disciple and the exorcism squad leader prepare to attack simultaneously. The young man stands his ground, but the combined force overwhelms him. Yet he remains standing, albeit with a broken spear, glaring at them with fierce determination. It's like watching a stubborn cat refuse to leave a sunny spot. The exorcism squad leader scoffs and questions if the Spears sect apprentice learned the demonic arts just to still be standing. The apprentice, exhausted but defiant, readies himself. Seizing the moment, Dole leaps into the air and lands with his sword piercing the apprentice's back. Nothing says "I'm serious" like a surprise attack from above. With a smug grin, Dole tells the apprentice he will give him those 2 fingers for the afterlife. He flips the apprentice's body beside his dead master, mockingly suggesting they have a chat. The apprentice gazes at his master's corpse, regret washing over him. He whispers an apology, expressing that he was wrong. If only he could live again, he would seek revenge. The irony is thick enough to cut with a sword. As he takes his last breath, he mutters a final thought about his master not being so kind and foolish in the next life. Looks like someone's got a serious case of the last words. The moment the boy dies, an artifact that he wears begins to glow and shine brightly. This hints that perhaps this isn't the end after all. And just when you thought it was over, the plot thickens like a good stew. 6 months later, in an unknown location, a group of children under the age of 10 train intensely. They sweat and strain, each one pushing their limits. Suddenly, one of them collapses to the ground, looking like a deflated balloon at a party. A child standing next to him wonders what is wrong, but before he can react, their instructor appears behind him, looming like a thundercloud. The instructor demands to know if the child really thinks this is the time to worry about someone else. Out of sheer terror, the child responds with a shaky "yes, sir," instead of the more appropriate "no, sir." Clearly, this kid has mastered the art of self-preservation. The instructor reminds the remaining children that they are in the cave of latent demons. He warns them that 3 failures will lead to death, emphasizing that worrying about others can cost them their lives. The instructor then orders his colleague to take care of the boy who fell. The colleague picks the boy up by the leg and shakes him like a maraca to check if he is still alive. Some of the children watch in concern, but with no response from the boy, the instructor drags his body across the training ground to a stream and tosses him into the water. Nothing like a refreshing dip to wake someone upright. One instructor turns to the other and asks how many that makes. The other replies that's about 250, but he's not sure. There's been quite a lot this month, and it's not like this place even keeps count. The first instructor shrugged and wished him good luck. It's like running a daycare where the kids keep disappearing. The Cave of Latent Demons is a training facility of the Cult of the Heavenly Demon, designed to train students similarly to the Martial Alliance's Twilight Dragon forces. As expected from the cult, it is no ordinary training facility. Only 1/10 of those who enter can leave alive. Talk about a high-stakes game of dodgeball. In a dimly lit room, the lamp sits on a desk, the desk of the leader of the training facility. An instructor enters with a report on the past 6 months. The general director of the Cave of Latent Demons, known as the Demonic Sword of Lead Blood Sang and Ha, look over the reports. He notes that their numbers continue to dwindle. He asks the instructor how many are left, as they are now under 600. Leaning back, he reflects on the 3-notch rule: keep up or you die, strengthen or you die, endure or you die. It only makes sense, he thinks. This place is for the future of the cult, and they at the Latent Demon Cave will not take their duties lightly. It's like a twisted version of a motivational seminar. The director then asks the instructor who among the remaining 600 shows promise. The instructor replies that the situation remains the same as 6 months ago. Numbers 11, 17, and 109 have consistently outshined their peers. The director smiles and asks if the 3 are still alive, to which the instructor confirms. The director comments that it is no surprise, as the children were numbered according to their talent, so it makes sense that the top numbers are doing well. It's like a reality show where the strong survive and the weak, well, they just don't. The director then inquires specifically about number 17, who is apparently a girl. He asks if she is still alive, and the instructor replied affirmatively. The director leans back once more, thinking that she only received the number 17 due to certain circumstances. In reality, her talents rivaled those of number 1. He is, however, surprised that number 109 is showing potential despite being labeled in the hundreds. The boy must be tough, he muses. Toughness is great, but can he survive a math test? After reviewing the reports, the director asks the instructor if there are any others aside from those 3. The instructor thinks for a moment before mentioning number 900. The director initially thinks it is a joke for the instructor to mention such a high number, but still asks if it has not been up to a year since the inception of the facility. The instructor confirms this, adding that other children with similar numbers have mostly failed by now. The director still believes that even those in the 600s should have been weeded out by now. It's like a game of survival where the odds are stacked against you. The instructor continues, noting that according to his memory, number 900 started to change about 6 months ago. The director is intrigued and tells the instructor to continue. 6 months ago, number 900, weary and stressed, stumbled into his room and collapsed onto his bed. He muttered that he felt like death, staring at his palm and sensing his body stop responding. He died, and in that moment, the Spear Sect apprentice was reincarnated into the body of this boy. Now that's what you call a plot twist worthy of a soap opera. The boy, now with the memories of the Spear Sect apprentice, awakens and begins to work out. After that, he lights the candles in his room and immediately goes into meditation. As he meditates, the reflection of the Spear Sect apprentice appears beside the boy. The apprentice, now in the boy's body, realizes that 6 months have already passed. He is surprised that despite dying, he is somehow alive. He reflects on how disorienting it was to untangle his memories from those of the child. It's like trying to figure out which sock belongs to whom after laundry day. Even now, he is unsure why he ended up in this situation. However, he guesses that it likely has something to do with the artifact he still possesses, an artifact from the Spear Master sect. This makes him wonder what kind of power was contained in the artifact that brought him here. He finds himself in the midst of the cult of the Heavenly Demon, inhabiting the body of a child named number 900 who had no talent. According to the child's memories, it has been less than a year since his death. Talk about a second chance at life, but with a twist of fate. There are still many mysteries surrounding his reincarnation, but one thing is clear. This time, he swears that his spear will pierce through the heart of Juadol. Now that's a goal that's sure to make things interesting. Ignite the soul to reforge the heavens, govern the body to dictate the earth. By setting your soul aflame, you can change the heavens, and by refining your body, you can control the earth. By doing so, you will obtain the soul of the heavens and the body of the earth. This is called the heavenward soul, earth, and body. This technique belongs to the now fallen Quanon sect. Normally, one would have to train for a decade to use it, but this child's body wouldn't last very long without it. In fact, it has already started showing effects. The boy has accumulated about 3 years' worth of Kai within his frail form. He could refine his body using the heavenward soul, earth, and body, but it saddens him deeply that he was revived within the cult of the Heavenly Demon. Talk about a bad hand in the game of life. He remembers his master's words explaining that the people of the orthodox sects condemn demonic practices as evil. Yet, his master urged him not to judge all demonic practices harshly. He noted that not all demonic practices are inherently evil, and those who follow them simply have different life experiences. Finally, his master called him Wong, emphasizing that this diversity is what makes the world so earth-rattling. Who knew philosophy could come with a side of existential dread? Wong also recalls his master saying that thanks to these different experiences, there exist heroes even among the demonic. At the time, Wong had wondered what his master was talking about, as he could not possibly picture himself among the demonic. Now he finds it ironic that he has become embroiled among them. It's like being cast in a movie where you never wanted to play the villain. The thought of his master's death still brings sadness to his eyes, but it also stirs an unbelievable amount of rage within him. He has no intention of becoming a hero. His rage causes blood to drip from his mouth, which falls onto his hand. As he wipes the blood from his lips, he calms himself, reminding himself that he is still the disciple of the Spear Master, the world's most chivalrous martial artist. He promises himself that even if he becomes one of the demons, he will always walk the path of a human. With that resolve, he returns to his meditation. A little self-affirmation never hurt anyone, right? Back with the director of the Latent Demon Cave, Director Sang and Ha asked the instructor if he is telling him that the boy became a different person after ingesting the poison. The director reflects on this, recalling that there have been other instances of such transformations, but they usually don't last as long as half a year. He wonders if this means number 900 is still undergoing transformation. It's like watching a reality show where the contestants keep changing personalities. While he is deep in thought, the instructor confirms that number 900 has indeed changed, but insists that he is still nothing compared to numbers 11, 17, and 109. The director, however, remarks that despite this, number 900 is still growing at a rate worth monitoring. He instructs the instructor to keep observing the boy, and the instructor obliges. The director then adds that 600 students is a good amount, and they can begin soon. The instructor, shocked, asks if that means what he thinks it means. The director smiles and orders the instructor to send word to all the cave instructors. The Cave of Latent Demons will begin its true program. The instructor answers with a respectful, "Yes, sir." It's like announcing the grand opening of a haunted house. The director stands by the window, stating that the cave's training up until now has been to condition the students' physical bodies for mastering new martial arts and adapting to poison. But now the true hell begins. Nothing says fun like a training regimen that sounds like it's straight out of a horror movie. As number 900 meditates, smoke, heated and intense, emanates from his body as he uses the heavenward soul, earth, and body technique to try to repair his body. Afterward, he opens his eyes. Though he still feels the sorrow of his master's death, he is glad to notice a change in his body's structure. It's like a DIY project gone right. The instructors sound the get-up bell, ordering all students to assemble immediately. They give the students a minute to gather completely. Once assembled, the instructor addresses them, expressing hope that they had a nice rest, because starting today, the intensity of their training will increase. The children, filled with apprehension, wonder what this increase might entail. Number 900 notices a man struggling to carry a heavy bag, which he eventually throws to the ground. The bag contains multiple bracers, each weighing 7.5 kilograms. Who knew weightlifting was part of the curriculum? The instructor then orders each student to come forward and put on 4 bracers, 2 for their arms and 2 for their legs. He informs them that starting today, they will live with these bracers on. While the other children are filled with fear, number 900 feels a surge of excitement. Finally, some real training. Who needs a gym membership when you have demonic bracers? In the cult of the heavenly demon on the Shuan mountain range, number 900 can be seen running upwards on the mountain. A few hours ago, the instructor announced to all of them that they would be training with bracers equipped on both their arms and legs from now on. He gave them 4 hours to climb the mountain and retrieve a flag stating that those who fail shall not have breakfast. In the present, number 900 complains that he's not used to the bracers yet. He notices some kids hiding behind trees, targeting exhausted children on their way back. He calls them shrewd little brats and adds that this will be a pain. Looks like someone's got a serious case of the "I didn't sign up for this." Upon reaching the top of the mountain, number 900 realizes that no one seems to be there. He tries to catch his breath while climbing the stairs, even though he feels like he's going to die from wearing a total of 30 kilograms of metal to climb this tall mountain. It's like a real-life game of floor is lava, but with added weights. A girl stands in front of him looking very energetic. This girl, who number 900 hasn't seen before, is number 17. She smiles and tells him that he looks tired. Number 900 looks at her and is wowed by the talent of the children in the tents. He forces himself up and says to himself that he will have to try even harder. Clearly, someone's got a serious case of the "I'm not giving up without a fight." He walks toward the flags and picks one up but sits back because he has succeeded. Now he can breathe a little, but he instantly realizes that he should only rest for a moment and get going before his body cools. He looks back at the flags, noting that there are about 30 left, but there are about 100 kids in the second group. He also adds that it's about time for the other kids to start arriving, which means that there are still too many kids, excluding those trying to steal flags. When they run out of flags, the ones who came late will start fighting each other to get one. It's like a twisted version of Hunger Games, Martial Arts Edition. Number 900 then thrusts forward into the air, surprising some of the other kids. He uses some spear moves to keep himself going forward while still above the ground. He smiles and says to himself that if he uses the flag as a spear, it won't be that hard going down the mountain. Looks like someone's got a serious case of the MacGyver spirit. On his way back, he notices someone behind a tree. Someone asks him to drop his flag and leave, but he walks further, which makes the guy come out. Number 900 now realizes that the kid is one of those who let the higher-ranked numbers pass and intentionally wait for the exhausted kids so they can bully them and snatch their flag. The kid, number 185, then asks number 900 if he didn't hear him the first time and once more tells number 900 to leave his flag and go. Looks like someone's got a serious case of the bully syndrome. Number 900 looks at number 185, stating that he does look the part, and it's obvious how he has survived until now. He calls number 185 an idiot, which provokes him, and number 900 continues to provoke number 185 by adding that he should pick on someone his size. The angry number 185 then moves toward number 900 and angrily asks him what he just said. Without replying, number 900 slaps him heavily with his flag. He continues to beat number 185 up, remarking that people like him are unable to face the strong yet bring their fangs against those who appear weak. Number 900 uses his flag as if it were a spear and beats number 185 mercilessly, calling him the perfect example of a hypocrite. Looks like someone's got a serious case of the taste of your own medicine syndrome. Number 185 falls to the ground in pain. Number 900 asks number 185 if it felt good to have been swaggering around other kids just because he was a little stronger. But number 185 is unable to answer and starts to beg, pleading for mercy. Number 900 pauses for a while. He then tells number 185 that he will spare him but breaks number 185's arm and adds that this will be the only time. Number 185 shouts from the agonizing pain as the instructor, who has been hiding behind a tree, sees all of this. Looks like someone's got a serious case of the "an eye for an eye" syndrome. Back at the cave, number 900 is offered his breakfast for completing the task. As he sits and eats, the instructor watches him carefully, as does number 185, who growls in anger. Number 900 looks back at number 185 and is angered because it seems number 185 is not willing to give up. Number 900 promises number 185 that there won't be a second chance, while the instructor continues to observe closely. Looks like someone's got a serious case of the "don't mess with me" syndrome. The next day, all the students are assembled and informed that starting today, they will begin learning martial arts. The students murmur among themselves, wondering if this means they are officially becoming martial artists. The chatter doesn't stop, so the instructor performs a powerful foot stomp, crushing the ground and creating a noise loud enough to wake the dead. He added some kind of force to his voice, sending shivers down the spines of the children. He shouts for everyone to be silent, which terrifies all the kids, except for number 900, who seems unfazed. Clearly, he's mastered the art of selective hearing. Number 900 thinks to himself that their instructor is clearly first-rate. It's no shock to him, given that he is the senior instructor, at the level of a master of a mid-sized sect. The senior instructor tells them that now that it has quieted down, he will continue. He announces that starting today, they will all learn martial arts. However, they won't be able to practice high-level martial arts immediately. He warns them that they cannot build a strong castle on sand, and that their training over the past year was to build up that foundation. He explains that they must all learn how to cultivate. He shows them a manual, stating that it is the dark flower and red spirit method, the fundamental cultivation method of the heavenly demonic cult. Talk about starting from the ground up literally. He then asks those who can read to move to the right and those who can't to move to the left. The dark flower should be the best method to develop a pure demonic Kai in the body. The kids move sluggishly, so one instructor yells for them to move quickly. The senior instructor then asks his colleague if the kids in front of him are the ones who know how to read, and the colleague responds affirmatively. The senior instructor tells the kids that they need to memorize 30 lines from the dark flower before lunch, adding that if they fail, there will be no lunch for them. Nothing like the threat of starvation to motivate a group of kids. He then looks towards those who can't read and tells them that they need to memorize 200 characters of the 1,000 fundamental characters in the manual, with the same consequence if they fail. He then asks them all to begin. Number 900, possessing the true completed method of the cultivation of the dark flower and the red spirit, realizes that the dark flower and red spirit fuse to complete the bloom. The complete bloom symbolizes the heavenly demon, the leader of the cult itself. Number 900 feels a sense of greed inside him, but he has the martial arts of the Spear Master sect. The cult claims their martial arts to be the best, but so does the Spear Master sect. He considers not learning the cult's martial arts because he doesn't want to abandon his roots. But at that instant, he gets an idea. The demonic cult's martial arts gather demonic ki quite rapidly but lack safety. However, the dark flower accumulates demonic ki with purity and stability. The Spear Master's sect's completed method of tempered orthodox ki also accumulates ki slowly and stably. He wonders what would happen if he combined the fundamentals of the demonic arts dark flower with the Spear Master's sect's completed method of tempered orthodox ki. If he succeeds, he could achieve the rapidness of the demonic arts and the stability of the orthodox ki. So he decides there's no harm in trying. After all, who doesn't love a good experiment? Hours later, during lunchtime, as number 900 eats his meal among others with no food, he hopes to watch for a chance to try combining both methods of ki cultivation. All the students assemble at the assembly ground because they will practice observing that afternoon. The trainer explains that observing is the ability to utilize the lines of dark flower to feel the Kai in their bodies. A few minutes later, he asks that anyone who feels something hot or cold should raise their hands and report it. Number 900 already feels something but decides to keep quiet. After all, it wouldn't be reasonable for the talentless number 900 to feel ki on the first day. Talk about imposter syndrome. He also notices that number 17 is pretending nothing is happening and observes that even two other children who felt ki aren't moving. So he decides that a timing not too slow, neither too fast, would be the best time to report that he feels Kai. Timing is everything, right? As dusk falls, marking the end of practice and the conclusion of the day's routine, the instructors ask all the children to come and get their dinner. Before they leave, the senior instructor announces that they are free to use their time afterward as they wish. While other kids use their free time to fight and chat, number 900 thinks there is no time to waste with the other kids, so he rushes up to his room. He thinks that if he cannot do that much, then his revenge would be impossible. Priorities, right? After entering his room and closing the door, he finds that the door won't shut because someone has put their foot in the way. This person greets him, and it is none other than number 17. Surprise guest alert, number 900 turns to her and asks what she wants. She smiles and tells him that he did it. He doesn't understand what she means, so she clarifies that she's talking about number 185. He gets annoyed because he didn't notice her and blames his weak body for letting a child sneak up on him. Number 17 asks him if he has been hiding his power all along, but he questions why he would need to tell her, adding that it's not like she's any different. Number 17 is surprised that he knew and tells him that he is very interesting, but he dismisses her thoughts, telling her that he only has good eyes for things, although he was able to tell from her talent and the instructor's reaction towards her. He concludes that number 17 is a child of one of the cult's high-ranking officials, given that she was also hiding her talent. Nothing like a little deduction to spice up the conversation. She then tells him that she will keep his secret for a while, though she lets him know that number 185 seems to have a grudge against him, stating that he has been grinding his teeth earlier. However, it is as expected, the personality of a person doesn't change easily. Number 17 smiles at him as she notices that he seems calm about it, so she says that she can see from his confidence that he can beat number 185 anytime, just as he said before. He tells her to stop talking as if it's a big deal when she's pretty much the same. For some reason, she seems surprised and laughs really loud, so much so that even the students in the assembly grounds can hear her. Who knew a laugh could echo through the halls like a battle cry? She then introduces herself as Aeon, just Aeon with no last name, but number 900 just shuts the door on her, telling her to just call him number 900. She smiles as she wonders what kind of person he really is. Mystery and intrigue, the perfect combination. 3 days later, number 900 raises his hand to report that he's finally feeling some Kai. Aeon looks on, thinks for a moment, but then smiles and says that she knew he was interesting. From now on, she plans to keep an eye on him. Looks like number 900 has gained an unexpected ally, or perhaps a rival. Only time will tell. A year has passed and 2 significant changes have occurred. The first change is that number 900, now named Wang, has successfully combined the dark flower cultivation method with the tempered orthodox Kai from his original sect. Although he hasn't fully integrated the dark flower technique, he estimates that it's about 70% complete. He dubs this new cultivation method the tempered true blossom, symbolizing the firm and unshaken words that bloom a true flower. Talk about a name that sounds like it belongs on a fancy tea label. The second change is the effect of the heavenward soul and body technique starting to manifest. Wang's bones have become stronger, his height has increased significantly, and he has grown considerably in strength. Neither he nor number 17 has suffered any defeats in the recent daily food competitions. Even number 185, the largest child in the second group, is now only slightly bigger than Wang. Despite this, number 185 still harbors a grudge against him. Wang, however, remains confident that number 185 can't get back at him, not even in a million years. Confidence is key, especially when you've got the upper hand. During the past year, the number of student deaths has noticeably decreased, and the weight of the metal bracers on the children's arms and legs has increased to a staggering 45 kilograms. This is a weight that the children can only bear while climbing if they use Qi. Wang has gone further by opening his meridians throughout his entire body, allowing his inner energy to flow freely. Meridians are the network of vessels or channels in the body through which Qi flows, similar to blood vessels. It's like upgrading from a rusty old bike to a shiny new sports car. One day, the instructors roll out some weapons onto the assembly ground and inform all the students that starting today, they will begin training with weapons. The instructor introduces them to the basic weapons that have become staples in martial society. The Jian, a double-edged straight sword. The Dao, a single-edged sword known for its brute force compared to the elegance of the Jian, and the spear. He explains that these 3 are the basic weapons and the students must choose one to learn for the rest of their lives. He urges them to choose carefully. No pressure, kids, just pick a weapon that could potentially save your life. Wang chooses the spear. After selecting their weapons, the students meet with an instructor to receive their respective manuals. The 3 basics of the Jian for those who chose the Jian, the 5 elements of Dao for those who chose the Dao, and the 7 stars of the spear for those who chose the spear. The instructor announces that the students will now be given time to practice and study their martial arts freely. They are encouraged to ask any instructor if they have questions, but are warned that since they don't know how many will survive after 6 months, learning their martial arts correctly is crucial. With a devilish look, he adds that anyone who doesn't learn their martial arts properly will have a difficult time surviving, and even if they do, they will be barely in one piece. Nothing like a little motivation through fear. Wang recalls how excited he was when he first learned the 7 stars of the spear, the 6 combinations of the first and the movement of the wind and cloud. He begins to relearn them. Cage whip and bounce, which involves breaking out of a cage. Swirl cut, which twirls in a spiral like a conch shell, and braid push, which involves stabbing and piercing the opponent. As Wang practices his spear skills, instructors watch him with smiles, as does number 185, who has long wanted revenge since the day Wang broke his arm. Number 185 is surprised to see Wang practicing so skillfully, wondering if it's really his first time using a spear. His anger grows because he realizes that avenging himself against Wang has become even more difficult. Looks like the tables have turned and the hunter has become the hunted. The instructors have a brief discussion, with one noting that number 900 has indeed changed, just as the director reported. Another instructor remarks that for number 900, the upcoming Gate of Life and Death in 6 months shouldn't be much of a problem. The Gate of Life and Death is the first gauntlet conducted in the Cave of Latent Demons, where children die off in large numbers in a short time span. Those who survive the gate are acknowledged as demonic soldiers by the cult. A demonic soldier is the lowest rank of elite forces in the cult, with higher ranks including demonic captains, demonic generals, great demons, and demonic kings. Sounds like a promotion ladder with some serious stakes. Director Sang In-ha, the overseer of the training, notes that even though the rank of demonic soldier is the lowest, less than 10,000 of the 100,000 disciples of the heavenly demonic cult are acknowledged as such. He understands that it is not easy for children under the age of 15 to become demonic soldiers. However, the Cave of Latent Demons doesn't exist just to train demonic soldiers. It is meant to cultivate future leaders, possibly even a demonic captain. This particular training is special because, by the order of the cult leader himself, they are tasked with raising a number of demonic generals. Although Sang In dreams of raising a great demon, he knows that this would be asking too much, as he himself barely became a great demon, and that at the lowest rank, aiming high but keeping it realistic. Director Sang In-ha asks one of the instructors about the preparations for the Gate of Life and Death. The instructor bows his head and informs him that they have secretly sent out people to buy and train the beasts they will need for the gauntlet. By the time of the trial, the beasts won't be ordinary. Pleased with this report, Director Sang In-ha tells the instructor that those who survive the Gate of Life and Death will be provided with 3 demonic medicines of Ayala and access to the divine vault of the demonic sea, a valuable time span representing the life expectancy of a typical human. Sang In-ha notes that it was the cult leader himself who gave these orders. The instructor bows again and takes his leave, leaving Sang In-ha looking forward to the Gate of Life and Death. Sounds like a party no one wants to miss. 6 months later, Wang has finally completed the True Tempered Blossom, fully realizing his potential just in time for the grueling trial ahead. Now that's what you call perfect timing. The next day, standing in front of all the students, the instructor acknowledges their skill improvement. However, he quickly dampens the mood by announcing that half will die today at the trial of life and death. The students exchange nervous glances, their excitement evaporating faster than a puddle in the sun. The instructor continues, explaining that when they enter the trial, they will face a near-death experience. Simply training hard will not guarantee their survival. The only way out will be to struggle with all their might. Anyone who fails will die slowly and painfully, with their limbs being eaten alive. Nothing like a little motivation through fear to get the adrenaline pumping. He tells them all to remember that the heavenly demonic cult is all about survival, the survival of the strongest. The weak are not needed. Each student of the cult must become strong, both physically and mentally. Only then will the cult be a place they can call home. After delivering this cheerful message, he shuts the gate behind them with a dramatic flourish. A real crowd pleaser of at one. Wang Song recalls the instructor's words about the pain of being eaten alive, and he guesses that he'll be fighting a beast in a place like this. He doesn't think it's a problem for him. Not long after, the lights go off. Wang feels a presence, the presence of a beast with 4 feet and faint amber-colored eyes. It's a gray wolf from the Tan Chain. He immediately takes his fighting stance. Thankfully, he doesn't sense another beast. At least he's not facing a whole pack of them. Small victories, right? He realizes that it's no wonder they gave him an iron spear, because he wouldn't even land a scratch on the beast without it. Wang releases his Kai and the beast reacts to it, which makes him realize that the wolf was trained to fight a human. Now he knows why they'd expect only half of the students to survive. Although the fight won't be easy, he's ready to give his all. He uses Intimidation Kitty and readies himself to kill the beast. Nothing like a little intimidation to set the mood. Meanwhile, Director Sang and Hyo ask one of the instructors if the first group is already in the trials. The instructor confirms that they are and that they should have met the Grey Wolf by now, telling the director that it is as he commanded. For the top 30 students of the Cave of Latent Demons, they replace the wolves with alpha wolves. The alpha wolves are already stronger than tigers, but these ones should be more powerful than your ordinary martial artists. Director Sang and Hyo curiously ask if the children will be able to survive. The instructor replies that the children who entered the cult with some talent, or those who already knew some martial arts, will have a high chance to survive, but the rest will most likely die. The top 30 are no exception, as they will be facing the alphas of the Grey Wolves. However, if they do survive, they will become martial artists that better suit the cult. Director Sang specifically looks forward to seeing number 900's performance. No pressure, Wang, just the fate of your peers resting on your shoulders. Back in the trial, number 900 has been battling the Alpha Grey Wolf for a while now. Impressively, he lands a direct hit on the wolf, but it only leaves a scratch on its pelt. The wolf is tough. Even though Wang planned to kill it in one fell swoop with the help of his intimidation key, he only managed to scratch it. But he sees this as a rare chance to finally try his martial arts away from the eyes of the instructors. He engages the beast and plans to use it as his test subject, but the beast's movements are too fast, making it hard for him to evade the attacks. It's like trying to catch a greased pig at a county fair. So he thinks of a way to kill the beast since the injury was shallow. Although his senses and foundation are sound, it would take a while for him to defeat the beast if he only uses basic spear techniques, or he would have to risk his life. This thought makes him laugh because his life definitely cannot be on the line against a mere creature like this. He uses intimidation Kai, but this time with more energy. The beast gets intimidated, it whimpers and tries to run away. Wang seizes that moment and cuts down the beast in one fell swoop. Talk about a dramatic turnaround. After killing the beast, the door begins to open. The doors beside his still remain shut. Wang steps outside into the light, squinting as his eyes adjust to the brightness. As he walks further, he notices that there are already 20 students before him. While some have serious wounds, others seem perfectly fine. A student smiles at him and tells him that it looks like he had a hard time there. He replies that she's correct, it wasn't easy. She also tells him that it was the same for her, and that she almost died. Wang just gives her a side-eye because he knows she's exaggerating. Looking at her sword, he's pretty sure she killed it in a single strike. Classic case of I almost died syndrome. He sits on the ground and tells her that he needs a break, but he still wonders how she was able to kill a gray wolf with one strike at that age. He guesses that her skills are already top tier, but the strange part is he gets it with number 17. What he doesn't get is how those kids came out before him. He starts to think that maybe the tests aren't done on equal ground for everyone because even number 185 came out fine, which makes him more certain that the gauntlet isn't done equally. But it doesn't matter anymore because the trial of life and death is already over. He reminds himself of what's important, to focus on improving the intimidation Kai, because while it's impressive, it lacks efficiency. Likewise, he needs to reinforce the tempered true blossom because it's still not clear to him. It feels like it's surrounded in fog. Just another day in the life of a budding martial artist. The senior instructor strides in and informs the remaining students that today, half of them died after the trial of life and death. Only 72 of the trainees have survived. However, Wang is pretty sure that it was their intention to reduce the numbers like this. He feels a pang of sympathy for the poor fellows who didn't make it. The instructor congratulates them on surviving and tells them that henceforth they have been acknowledged as demonic soldiers of the heavenly demonic cult. By order of the sect leader, they will receive a reward, the demonic medicine of Okpalpa. The instructors will provide the trainees with 3 each, and they are to take them immediately. Nothing like a little incentive to keep the survivors motivated. Wang thinks about it. The demonic medicine of Okpalpa is a medicine that provides 5 to 7 years worth of Kai. For them to be given 3 of these to fresh demonic soldiers like himself means they would be using about 1,000 for all the trainees. As expected, this is no ordinary cave of latent demons. All the trainees sit to digest the medicine, and Wang suspects the cave is planning something. But he doesn't care. He plans to use them to become stronger, and the demonic medicine of Okpalpa is no exception. As he digests the medicine, he promises himself to become stronger. Absorbing the medicine, he knows that to become stronger, he must first absorb the rampaging strength of the medicine. He takes on the challenge, absorbing the rampaging strength of each medicine one by one. The second and third doses cause him immense pain, but he perseveres. While others are still absorbing, Wang finishes and has accumulated 20 years worth of Kai, which is pretty impressive to do in such a short time. He looks around wondering if he's the first one to finish, but sees Jean looking at him already. She calls him and asks how it was, but he turns away instead. John tells him that he's being cold towards her. Ah, the classic I'm too cool for school move. A few hours later, the instructor comes and asks everyone if they have successfully adjusted their Kai. He looks around and says that it seems like everyone successfully absorbed the strength of the medicine and congratulates them on becoming a level stronger. He tells them that, however, that was not the only reward their leader has bestowed upon them. Wang wonders what more could there be besides the medicine, and number 17 seems like she knows something about it. The instructor gracefully informs them that starting today, they will learn martial arts in earnest, and those martial arts will be those acknowledged as the best of the best anywhere in the world. He even orders everyone to follow him. Talk about raising the stakes. He takes them through a path in the cave that they've never been through before. As they walk, Wang thinks back on the instructor's words, the best of the best. The trainees wonder where the instructor is leading them. They finally arrive at the front of a mighty door, the divine vault of demonic seal. The trainees gasp, wondering what kind of place this is. It is the demonic cult's legendary secret vault, akin to the heavenly vault of demonic sea and the true vault of demonic sea. The instructor mentions that some of them might have already heard of it. It's the divine vault of the demonic sea. Normally, no one is allowed near this place, so they should be thankful to their benevolent leader for granting them access, impressed by their growth. Wang's suspicion grows. Why would they grant access to the cult's secret vault to mere demonic soldiers? The key medicine was rough but a definite method of training, and a secret martial arts manual is a surefire way to make a master martial artist. This makes him wonder if the cult is preparing for war. Nothing like a little conspiracy theory to spice up the day. Before they enter, the instructor reminds them that they are only allowed in there once and today only, and they are only allowed to take one book. He asks them to be careful with their decisions, hoping that the students will select a martial manual that suits them. Director Sang in his office asks one of the instructors if the children have entered the vault of the demonic sea. He receives a response from the senior instructor stating that all 72 surviving children have entered the vault. Sang tells the instructor to keep an eye on children who choose a manual that fits them well, because they are the ones with sharp eyes and he's sure they will improve more, putting aside the chance of it being a coincidence. He orders the instructor to start teaching the children loyalty to the demonic cult's leader when they return from the vault. But the instructor reminds him that they had orders not to use poison. The director affirms that order, telling the senior instructor that they are not trying to make puppets, and that the loyalty their leader wants is not that of a puppet. He reminds the instructor not to forget that this cave of latent demons is a special one. He tells the senior instructor once more, making sure he understands. Just a little reminder that loyalty can be a tricky business. Inside the vault, Wang, looking for which book to choose, recalls that the purpose of the Orthodox Kai is to accumulate virtue in order to become as strong as the gods. The demonic Hui, unlike the Orthodox Hui, is to challenge the way of the gods by twisting the way of nature. But as long as they are martial arts, they both share the same fundamentals of developing a strong body and soul. To respect his chivalrous master, a spear master, he must learn the properties of the demonic ki without resorting to an inhumane manual. But even that is a lot. By the time he leaves the vault, he plans to fill himself with knowledge about the demonic studies. One book catches his eye, and he seems to recognize it. The plot thickens. What secrets does this book hold? Standing in front of the door as it shuts behind him, the senior instructor of the divine vault of the demonic sea, Wang feels a sense of satisfaction wash over him. As he strolls past the other students with a smile on his face, they wonder what's got him in such a good mood. Little do they know, it was a highly productive day for him. He managed to skim through 30 secret manuals. Although he couldn't remember all of them, he thinks it's better that way because for him, the bottom line is harmony. Who knew scheming could feel so rewarding? He walks past the senior instructor, who looks suspiciously at him. The foundation of orthodox martial arts is to not disturb the Kai, maintain it in harmony, and find the balance of the body and soul within it. On the other hand, demonic martial arts gain power through the explosiveness of destroying harmony, making it an unstable power, or so it is known to be. But that's not entirely accurate. The answers in the secret texts of the Divine Vault have shown that the essence of demonic art is harmony beyond balance and imbalance, which means that either way, the basis for both the Orthodox sect and the demonic arts is the same. It's like discovering that both sides of the argument actually agree on something. He finally gets inside his room and lights his candle. As he reaches for the text he found in the vault, he notes that he never thought he would find it, the arts of six seals and destruction. This martial art was created by someone who was both an apprentice of the Spear Master sect and part of the demonic cult. The art of six seals and destruction is a demonic art based on the Spear Master arts. Wang clears the dust from the book and comments that, of course, the book was kept in the divine vault of the demonic sea. He considers himself lucky enough found it. It's like finding a hidden treasure at the bottom of a cereal box. According to known facts, the Six Seals and Destruction is an art that cannot exist because the Spearmaster sect of the Martial Sea is known for passing down its art to only one apprentice. However, nowhere in the sect's rules does it state that it should be passed to only one person. Understanding and passing down the art of the Spearmaster sect is very difficult, so in most cases, only one apprentice is trained with care, catering to its reputation. But there have been masters who trained 2 or more apprentices. The 5th Spearmaster had 2 apprentices, But the apprentice who did not pass on the name of the Spear Master committed to the demonic arts to achieve his own form of martial arts. The result was the creation of the art of six seals and destruction. It's like a family recipe that got a little too spicy. Wang thinks this is strange because only the Spear Master sect has some records of this art, and in his last life, he had never heard that there were records of the art of six seals and destruction in the demonic cult. This leads him to conclude that there must have been something going on between the Spear Master sect, the cult of Heavenly Demon, and the master of the art of six seals and destruction. He leaves all that aside because right now what matters is that the secret text is in his hands. The harmony of the orthodox sect and demonic arts combined with the art of six seals and destruction will become his sharpest blade, the blade to pierce Juo Dole's heart. Revenge is still on his mind and he gets angry every time he remembers that man. But he quickly reminds himself that it's not time to get excited, he will just have to wait for the resentment to deepen. He begins to study the manual and promises once more that he will avenge the death of his master, no matter how long it takes, even if it means using both the cult and the leader of the cult, the Heavenly Demon. The thought of the Heavenly Demon makes him shiver, but he carries on and continues to study the manual until the candlelight goes out. Nothing like a little dark magic to keep you up at night. Ever since the divine vault of the demonic sea, time in the cave of latent demons has flown by uneventfully. The only difference is that they have more free time. The children use that time to train their martial arts. Number 17 steadily spies on Wang. As Wang studies, he realizes the peculiar and bizarre ideas of the demonic arts. They show up in the arts of six seals and destruction. Just as he thought, is brilliant but also dangerous. Even so, the art of six seals and destruction is very well made. Two different martial arts from the same roots. Wang wonders if he can combine them, so he begins by practicing the origin of the Spear Master sect and what his master newly developed, the Spear of Ending Night. The godly spear that erases the darkness of the night is a martial art of flow and flexibility that drowns the opponent in a sea of spear strikes. Next, he practices what is not supposed to exist, the art of six seals and destruction. It scorches the earth like a giant fire, showcasing the hardness of flexibility, a martial art of brute force, strength, and adaptability. It's like mixing fire and ice. What could possibly go wrong? Wang wonders if there's a way to combine both because, even though they are opposite elements like water and oil, it's worth giving a try. He knows that it will be a bigger challenge than combining the dark flower and the pure strength Kai, because he already has serious injuries on his palm from practicing them separately. Even if he succeeds, the sheer convolution of it will make it difficult to pass it down to an apprentice of the Spear Master sect. But he wants to learn a stronger martial art, which is why he must succeed. Also, because he wants to avenge his master with a more powerful martial art, he is ready to try it even with his battered hands. But in order to attempt combining the two martial arts, he first has to master them individually, the Divine Spear of Ending Night and the art of six seals and destruction. 3 years later, an assembly was called. Wang looks completely different. Flows like the river, they hotly flow down but at some point disappear without a trace. The flow of time is not much different. 3 years have flown by with the children of the cave of latent demons reaching their adulthood. Time flies when you're having fun or plotting revenge. Their bodies also show changes one after the other. However, unlike ordinary children of their age, they all conceal a furious aura like beasts. The changes weren't only physical. The emergence of groups and factions based on their interests was only natural. Over the 3 years, the children gathered forces and several factions were created. But not all children were part of a faction. Some were either too strong, making such hassle unnecessary, or the complete opposite, choosing to live alone. Wang was the former, living solo because he was simply too strong. Who needs a team when you can go solo like a rock star? In one faction, members were discussing Wang. One of them asked if they didn't also think number 900 was such a douchebag. The others nodded in agreement, and one of them proceeded to share a story about how Wang had humiliated him in the past. He really wanted payback for that. They all looked towards him, and one of them shouted that training alone wouldn't get him anywhere, insisting that he was no longer the same person he used to be. Wang, however, didn't pay any attention to their chatter. So the disgruntled guy asked the other members if they would like to team up against Wang, suggesting that they could take him down if they worked together. They decided to head to the assembly first and figure things out afterward. Classic case of let's plot revenge while ignoring the bigger picture. At the assembly ground, Wang found the sudden gathering odd, especially since there hadn't been any assemblies in the past year. He wondered what was going on but decided to join in anyway, reasoning that overthinking wouldn't get him anywhere. Besides, the instructors would fill them in once they got there. One of the guys from the faction who held a grudge against him spotted Wang and panicked, tapping his faction member to also see him approaching. That one looked scared too, but Wang didn't mind them and simply walked past. Even number 185, the leader of that faction, still held a grudge against him. Wang's presence annoyed him so much that he ground his teeth, muttering about how Wang thought he was high and mighty. Wang looked back and saw that number 185 was still gunning for revenge. It irritated him because he thought of number 185 as a persistent jerk, cunning as a fox but with the physique of a bear. Still, he considered that a form of caution. Besides, he thought someone else was the bigger pain. She came up behind him and greeted him. Instead of responding, he thought of a way to escape her as fast as he could. So he asked her what the problem was and how she planned to annoy him today. But she told him not to be hostile because she only wanted to say hello. He shrugged off her comment and walked away. Classic avoidance tactics. While everyone gathered was busy discussing and getting distracted, the instructor called their attention with his signature foot stamp and shouted for silence, making them stand at attention. Wang was not impressed. He was already used to the powerful foot stamping. Now that he had their attention, the instructor congratulated the students, telling them they had all done well and that they could now take off their metal bracers. This announcement sent a wave of excitement through the crowd as they instantly removed them, but Wang looked confused. Wasn't this supposed to be a reward? The instructor then informed them that the second trial of life and death would soon start, beginning with the closing training. This news wiped the excitement from their faces, leaving fear in its wake. Even Wang wasn't thrilled to hear about the life and death trial, recalling the sense of dread he felt from that gray wolf 3 years ago. He wondered how many would die this time. He noted that being the trial of life and death, the closing training wouldn't be easy either. With a smile on the senior instructor's face, he proceeded to tell them that the second trial of life and death would be conducted over 4 years, and the first part of the closing training would start 5 days later, just when they thought it was safe to relax. Wang walked up to the instructor. The instructor asked him what he might need, and Wang replied that he had come for something he needed. A mysterious request. What could it be? The senior instructor reminds Wang that his request must be something he has considered carefully, and Wang assures him that he has thought it through. Meanwhile, the faction that despises him continues to grumble about how much of a Dutchbag he is. One of the members agrees, recounting a time when Wang broke his leg. Number 185, the leader of this faction, has been unusually quiet, prompting one of the faction members to ask if he still hates Wang. He doesn't reply but raises his head in anger, a clear signal that the grudge still burns bright. They then discuss teaching Wang a lesson for once, which makes him look at the guy and ask what he means by "we." The guy, brimming with bravado, tells the leader that he feels lively ever since he took off his bracers and that there are 6 of them. If number 185 doesn't feel like it, they'll just handle it themselves. But the leader retorts that number 900 will also take off his bracers. The guy replies confidently, pointing out that number 900 still has his on and that they've already taken theirs off, with 5 of them ready to act without the leader. Another guy chimes in, agreeing that it's true, and that they will make Wang bite the dust before he even gets the chance to take off those bracers. The leader, seated high and mighty with pride, tells them that it's all right, but he'll stay out of it. They can do whatever they want, but deep down he thinks they are fools. Ah, the classic "I'm too cool for this" move. They grab their weapons, ready to attack Wang, telling the leader he can rest while they take care of things quietly. Meanwhile, Wang is already aware of their intentions and plans to use them as bait to get to number 185. While munching on his dinner, they approach him, calling out. He glances back at them and casually notes that they look pretty hostile. He gets annoyed that it has actually come to this, knowing they've been looking for a chance to attack and thought this was the right moment, especially now that they've taken off their bracers. He takes his battle stance and tells them he was sure he made himself clear. There will be no second chances. He puts on a scary face and asks them what he said would happen the second time. His fierce expression and tone frighten them, but they push through their fear and decide to attack all at once. Nothing like a little intimidation to spice things up. Before any of their blades can hit their target, he has already moved behind them with one lifeless body at the end of his spear. They all turn to see him and are terrified, realizing he was able to pierce the guy's stomach in just one move, and none of them saw it happen. With his back still turned, he reminds them that he told them last time he let them leave not because he liked them, but just because they were all young. He looks at them with serious bloodlust and reiterates what he said before: there will be no second chances. He begins the massacre, and all that can be heard are shouts of pain and cries for help. It's like a horror movie, but Wang is the star. The leader, who decided to sit this one out, wonders what's going on, questioning if the members of his faction lost to number 900 and if Wang is really strong enough to take on 5 of them. He mutters that number 900 should know they are his henchmen. As Wang comes down the stairs, he locks eyes with their leader, making him wonder why Wang is looking at him. Hiding his sword behind his back, he tries to keep his cool, assuring himself that he'd be fine with his skills. even though it's clear he's scared. He attempts to act nonchalant and asks Wang what he wants. Classic case of bravado masking fear. Wang gives a killer smile and makes it clear that he warned them. No second chances. Number 185 still tries to keep his composure and says that he didn't do anything, but Wang asks if he really thinks he's a fool, stating that he knows those guys are his henchmen. Number 185 gathers some momentum and charges at Wang, shouting a cursing word. Wang jumps, evading the attack and going in for his own. Number 185 thinks he is screwed as the spear comes at him, trying to block it, but the spear changes direction and he can't keep up with Wang's movements. He gets stabbed, unable to react, and can't fathom what just happened. Blood rolls down the side of his lips, and the last thing he thinks before falling is a frustrated curse. Talk about a dramatic exit. It seems someone is watching from above. As number 185 falls flat to the ground, Wang gives a furious look in the direction of the observer and walks away. The observer waits a moment and then jumps down to where the body lies. It's number 17. She looks towards Wang's direction and wonders what's wrong with him. Looks like the plot thickens. What will she uncover? 5 days later, on the initiation day in the second gate of life and death, all trainees are called to receive the items they requested. After checking their gear, they are instructed to prepare for movement. The senior instructor hands Wang his items and asks if these are indeed what he requested. Wang confirms with a nod. The instructor finds Wang to be an interesting boy, not quite top tier yet, but he has a hunch about him. Everyone's asked to get going. A hunch. Sounds like the instructor has a soft spot for the underdogs. The items Wang requested are 4 metal bracers, each weighing 18.5 kilograms, and an iron spear. All are quite heavy, but Wang thinks that if he can get used to them, he will become stronger. He plans to first complete his mind and body and then harmonize the two. He hopes that by the time the closing training ends, he will have completed the Sky Soul and Body. On the day the Sky Soul and Body are completed, he will be born anew. The Sky Soul and Body don't just build physique, they artificially adjust the body to reach the ways of martial arts. It's like a spell for overhauling the body, which makes Wang wonder if it's similar to the forgotten spell of changing muscles and cleansing laziness used by the Shaolin. Sounds like the ultimate body makeover. Wang realizes that the inner caves the instructors always guarded were the passage to the closing training. It is deeper than he thought, with signs indicating that they carved a natural cave into a larger artificial one. They reach their destination, a pitch-black area. The senior instructor tells them that starting today, they will commence their closing training in this place. The torches are lit, and the trainees are awed. The instructor explains that inside there will be enough room and food for each of them to train. Once anyone enters, they will not be allowed to leave before finishing their training, as the instructors will seal the entrances. He asks them to prepare themselves and wishes them good luck. Good luck? More like good luck surviving. Before entering, Wang looks back one last time and smiles. Inside, it is pitch black and Wang can't see an inch ahead. Enduring this is the first task of the second gate of life and death. You either maintain your sanity and survive or become mad and die. Wang is determined and prepares to get used to the darkness. He first hears the sound of water and the wind against rocks. Listening to the sounds resonating, Wang guesses that it is a very large cave. It's like stepping into a giant echo chamber. Finally, his eyes adjust to the darkness and he sees that they used a machine to pump drinkable water in. There is also a mysterious small wooden door, but he decides not to think about it because he doesn't plan on using it to get out anytime soon. He thinks about the 4 years he will have to be there and assures himself that he can do it. A little self-motivation goes a long way. A few minutes pass and he begins to practice his Kai cultivation method. He is surprised to see how far he has come but is still not impressed. So he begins training immediately. Although it will be hard, he motivates himself that he can do it because he has to do it for the sake of revenge. Revenge is a great motivator. Just ask any action movie hero. 4 years later, Wang has come a long way from practicing his Kai cultivation method and training his physical body.